again, and if they can replicate that success.
Yeah, in addition to that, they also had Vladimir for a Blazed Olive in the mid lane. So Vladimir, this is patch 6.11. We expected him to fall off a little bit, but you can see he's still just as strong as ever.
Well, Vlad actually received no nerfs rather. So, you know, Swain, I think you're thinking
that,
of. Swain,
you're right.
Swain did get hit a little bit. Yeah. Vlad is strong as ever, and I think, you know, even with those Swain nerfs and some of the other nerfs like for Ryze and some of those other champions Azir, if anything, Vlad's going to raise in priority. So this is going to be definitely a scary champion.
Yeah, certainly. And there it is, Vladimir banned away. That Alawi ban, first one from Apex.
Why?
We just want to have fun here.
Yeah, forget winning. Just let us see the Alawi. Maybe we'll get to see something even cooler though. Maybe we'll see the Heimerdinger top. That'd be hype.
Oh, Yorick. Haven't seen Yorick in
ever.
Yeah, very long time.
Last time I saw Yorick, I think was a Unicorns of Love game a long time ago.
Oh, that's right.
Yorick and Cassiopeia. That was bomb.
Oh
Bring
my
it back.
Doesn't matter if you kill the Cassiopeia. She'll just keep coming.
There you go. But that aside, we do have the Alawi, Trundle, Nidalee taken off the table by Apex Pride. Alawi definitely not standard. The other two pretty normal bans, and across the table, it's going to be Ryze, Vladimir, and Kindred. All very reasonable, tit for tat on the S tier junglers.
Yeah.
A couple strong top laners, a couple strong mid laners. Pretty normal stuff. You know, Swain's still available, has been hit by those nerfs, but we've seen high priority on that as well. One thing that has been changing kind of lately, you know, since the mid-season patch is the priority on supports, though. We've seen a lot of Karma, we've seen a lot of Zyra, champions like that getting drafted often and early in these drafts. Would not be surprised to see some of those getting picked up. It's actually going to be a first pick Elise, and I would not have guessed that would be the case.
Simon Prox, the new jungler for Apex. He says, you know what's high priority right now? Let's get that Elise. Let's secure that away from Ku.
It can also be one of those situations where you just don't want to give away the rest of your draft, and normally the safest thing to draft in that case is a jungler. Elise definitely solid. Arguable that it is, you know, S tier, kind of like below the with Nidalee and Kindred taken off the table. Most people have been favoring champions like Rek'Sai as far as consistency goes, but it's going to be the least first pick. They're going to give up a pretty frightening 1-2 punch on the other side, though. Nami, a dominant support in the bot lane, you know, really has strong sustain, has a lot of poke. It's someone who can run a lane if you do not pick a lane dominant support to go against it, if you do not have a strong AD carry to go against it. And Azir is a champion that we have seen time and time again. When it's executed at the top level, it's frightening. When it's not executed at the top level, oh baby, watch out.
I recall a certain mid laner for a certain other team who's currently in the LCS who has a tendency to
fire some shots like that
on Azir. Well, we're highlighting the differences here. The comparison that we're seeing is that a Blazed Olive in that previous game, from the team fights that we saw, had superb positioning on Vladimir. He knew the limits of his sustain and his damage, very importantly. So a champion like Azir meshes with that pretty well.
It can, for sure. I mean, it's definitely, you know, positioning important on both. Obviously, Azir doesn't get to heal back up to full, so you normally don't get to go in, then go out, then go in. But positioning is extremely important. I agree with you on that. You need to set up zones of control, have your soldiers dictating where your enemies can and cannot go, especially in jungle corridors. A very successful champion in those cases, for sure. We do see Fizz, Bard picked up on the other side. We talked about strong laning champions. Bard is one of those. If you are an excellent Bard player, it's a very, very frightening. I love the mid-game, late-game initiations from Bard as well. Excellent Bard players not only force lots of flashes with those ults, they can make some game-winning plays. It's fantastic. Gives you great movement around the map, nice roaming ability. And Fizz, this was banned out pretty much every game we've seen tonight, and we talked a little bit about why. Has a little bit of everything. It's got percent HP damage, it has great mobility, it has great escape, you can build it tanky, you can build it AP, it can assassinate carries. What can it do? It's great.
By now, only $1.99. Oh, wait.
There you go. I'll take it.
We saw Chris in that previous game, very successful in that last fight that we saw once again. He was the one who started off and turned it into a 5 versus 4 right away. So back on that champion. Let's talk a little bit about Nova now, because they've already picked in their next two champions. Gragas for Ku, and Ezreal is locked in for Rakara.
Yeah, so Gragas and Ezreal, definitely two solid champions up on that tier as well. You know, it's possible that you can see the flex pick for Fizz. It can go mid lane. Obviously, in this case, Zed is locked in, so it's not going to happen. But you have two kind of pseudo assassins. I mean, Fizz is full assassin if it's built correctly, like, you know, for that role, like full AP. I imagine in this case, it will be built out tanky. But it's going to be interesting to see what they want to put up in the top lane against this Fizz. And both teams having some pretty solid drafts here across the board. Gangplank is the hover, but there's still lots of time for them to reconsider. And, you know, I would not think it's going to be the Gangplank, but it's certainly something that you're going to be happy to farm it out. You can play relatively safe against someone like a Fizz. And one of the kind of scary things you have to worry about, though, is Fizz is excellent at diving turrets, and Gangplank likes to sit back, likes to play at slow pace, scale up, farm with barrels. Fizz can get in there. You can drop turret aggro, and Fizz plus Elise, that is damn good at turret diving because they can both drop aggro, so it's going to be the Maokai. Much more something that I expected, especially when you do have a powerful backline like Azir, like Ezreal. You want to protect those guys. You want to keep them safe. Maokai's the man to do it.
Yeah, very strong champion, now locked in for Flaxish, but that's Nova's final team comp. They've got AoE, they've got a front line, they've got some Ezreal for poke, whereas Apex, on the other hand, they are going in with that Zed, with that Fizz. This is going to be a very, very aggressive game from Apex if they can find the play that they're looking for.
Certainly will, and, you know, with the Assassins, they have the potential to be extremely powerful, but the barrier of execution is very high. If you're going to play Zed, you need to be able to get side lane split push going. You need to be able to execute in the early, like, 1v1 kills. If you can pick that up, if you can get an advantage, you can go side lane, you can split all day. It looks great. When you fall behind, the problem is you have to team fight on Zed. You have to 5v5, and a Zed who is behind and has 5v5, it's very hard to pull that off. It's so, so tough, especially against champions like Maokai. You go in for the death mark, you get rooted up, you die. Doesn't feel too good.
It's a very simple cut and dry process.
It can happen.
You're rooted up and
I've been there.
It's just a quick 1 and 2. I know what you mean. But the game is about to go live, so cast your vote on Twitter for who you think is going to grab this win. Send hashtag APPWin or hashtag NVAWin to @LOL eSports, and we'll tally those votes a little bit later as we prepare to get into this. But already we've had a 1-1 and now a 2-0, so we're already starting to see some discrepancies open up. This would be pretty awesome for Nova if they could get this 2-0 early on.
Yeah, getting the 2-0 obviously is going to be the goal here. We'll see if they're able to pull it off. Apex Pride is going to have a thing or two to say about that. They're not going to go quietly into the night here, as you want to get as many points as possible. And getting wins on the board early and often is important in any league, but especially in one as competitive as this season, where we have a little bit of everything, all kinds of LCS players. And I mean, you could tune into a lot of these games, you would not know it's Challenger. It just looks like full LCS roster.
Yeah. Some very, very competitive play. Nova getting a bit cheeky down here. I think they might be spotted by Apex's Roar. They cheat around now, taking the long way. Ku has found Roar. He has got the body slam. Trance does not have a bubble because over the wall, the binding finds Conquan. From Conquan is able to lock him down.
And I mean, I gotta say, that was ambitious.
Oh yeah.
There's just not the follow-up. What is Maokai gonna do? Level W and flash after you? Is your whole team gonna flash for this? Then the Sivir just flashes away, and
she still got the heal.
Yeah, it's very, very ambitious to go for that body slam flash. If your team's already on top of him and he's far from a turret, sure, go for it. But it's gonna be tough here as Roar just kind of strolls out, not even gonna pop his potion or level spell shields or anything. Right? Yeah. This is he was very confident he was fine here, and I don't blame him.
It's about sending a message.
It's about sending a message, and that message is, I have no flash.
Not exactly a great way to start it from Nova's point of view, but that does mean that the early ganks that we could expect out of Ku, any level 3, level 4 body slams, are going to be a little bit delayed or a little bit easier to dodge because they won't have that flash guarantee. Trance is coming around the wall here. He might not catch the blue. Oh, he sees the Elise now, but the blue has already been secured. Let's see.
He's got to be careful. This is a pretty late invade, and it is a level 2 Elise, so he'll just stroll out of there, no problem. Chris soaking up the XP here. Pretty cheeky, just going to hang out in the bush, and he's doing his best Teemo impression. He's saying, I'm in my passive, I'm invisible, leave me alone.
Up 2, 3, 4.
But the problem is here, Chris needs to probably start basing pretty soon, or...
Oh, he's
all right. Oh, he's actually TPing out of there, and I don't know about that one. I guess he's just gonna go straight to bot lane. It's okay. He does pick up himself some experience, so it's all right. Also interesting to note, he's not going to have flash. This is a TP Ignite Fizz.
Oh, yeah, very aggressive out of Chris.
Really good for the 1v1 against Maokai as well, especially if you're going that tank build. You will likely not have any sort of healing reduction. You're not going to be building Relos. You're not going to obviously have Executioner's Calling. And a pretty aggressive trade here from Zed. He's on top of him, and Azir's going to have to be somewhat careful, but
oh, man.
Shifter will end up taking the worst end of that.
Yeah, he does have Longsword 3-pot start, so he should be able to sustain back up rather easily. The big boon is spending that mana. Chris, oh, and he dodges the turret shot. Very stylish, Chris.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice minion bounce for him, so pretty much ideal there. Shifter not going to have too much fun here in the mid lane, at least early on. He needs to try to hit as many Qs as possible. Nice little sidestep, though, by a Blaze Olive. And Shifter basically early on, he's got to just farm with Qs. He's got to play it safe and wait for Elise to come, try to get some early aggression, try to put some pressure onto this Azir because he already has used his 3 pots. He wants to just basically farm it up and try to look for some sort of assassination a little bit later.
Yeah, Shifter, as we can see, farming it up. Again, we've been saying it all night. This is patch 6.11, so Zed did receive a few nerfs to his Shuriken post level 1, which is all of them.
Yeah, basically the idea is that if you get multiple Shurikens on a pass-through, you'll do more. If you do one, you'll get less. So it's trying to reward the kind of the skill expression, right? You can't just kind of like throw them out there all willy-nilly. You got to try to get multiple Shurikens, get multiple pass-throughs, and see if you can be rewarded that way.
Yeah, but in addition to that, there's also the Shadow cooldown nerf. The level 1 Shadow is something like 22 seconds now.
It's pretty long.
Makes it really, really hard to do some effective damage. And Ku might not have flash, but he's definitely a big window that he could try to take advantage of, as that flash is actually about to come off of cooldown, and everyone looks for the next tier 1 turret after the lane swap trade. So,
yep,
fairly standard that we're seeing. Standard lane swap, I should clarify.
Yeah, very standard stuff, and Ku is not going to be punished whatsoever, so he makes the aggressive play. Sure, it did not pay off, but he did not need his flash, so it's fine, right? And it's one of those things where it's opportunity cost, right? He's saying to himself, yeah, sure, maybe this doesn't work, but what if it does? And you're not going to lose that much if it doesn't, because it's being this lane swap game. It's very passive. There's not a lot really going on as far as aggressive plays. So as far as that goes, it's fine. He's going to have it back, and he may look to try to make something happen with that body slam flash at some point. I would like to see Dominant procs, though, as the game starts to open up more. Try to put some pressure on, with Shifter. Wait for Shifter to get that 6, which he does have now, and try to get him that early kill because you want him to be outpacing this Azir. You do not want Azir to get his way up to a Seekers for free. You do not want him to be able to just kind of like farm it out in this lane, because as far as teamfight effectiveness, it's going to be a lot harder for Shifter if he's not ahead.
Yeah, currently down what appears to be 10 CS in this laning phase, so does have a lot.
Lane.
Yeah, it's still a lot of time that he has to come back. We know Shifter is very capable of finding the kills. There's a very squishy Ezreal and Nami with beacons over their head that Zed can see that say, "Come kill me."
Yeah, it's definitely possible to take these guys out pretty easily. But at the same time, we are having Chris getting chased down. Remember, he has no flash. He's going to try to turn aggressive here onto Rikara as he sees he's being flanked.
Whoa,
Maokai's coming in too, though.
From Trance. Chris is buying a lot of time, but
that's going to be first blood.
Yeah, first blood to Rikara. Overextended in a turretless lane. Free kill for Nova.
Yeah, good job there. They chase him down, and that's one of the disadvantages. You don't play with that flash early on. Later, sure, it's fine. You have 40% CDR. You have, max rank on your E. The cooldown is really low. Who cares? Flash is not as big of a deal. But when you're talking about these early stages, he is a very long cooldown. You can't just kind of escape for free, and not having the flash means he's going to get chased down, no problem.
Yeah, that's a good advantage for Nova. But they are still just about even in gold with Apex Pride because of the hard farming we're seeing from Diamond Procs, because of a farm advantage we're seeing from Roar. Yeah,
Roar's doing great. His build is extremely low as far as combat effectiveness goes, but he's basically just saying it's okay, we're not looking to fight, we're looking to push. He has Swifties, he has a cult, and if you were wondering how to get the least damage for your money. This is it.
He's scaling. He's got the late.
Oh, he's scaling.
He's just waiting it out.
I mean, the Cull's going to cash out. It's great. And Rikara as well is obviously not going combat potency build. He picks up a tier. He picks up lucidity boots. And then he gets a Cull, right? These are like not builds to fight. This is the, I'm going to stand here. I'm going to hit minions. You're going to stand there. You're going to hit minions. But I'm betting I'm going to beat you later.
We can hit each other another time.
Yep.
Minions take precedence for now.
Exactly. You gotta know where your priorities are about. Gotta get that money.
Diamond Prox roaming mid. Spotted out well in advance by a Blazed Olive, who looks to head over towards his blue buff and back. As blue buff, in fact, actually is going to head over towards Shifter as well. Oh, doesn't land both Shurikens. Still
good try.
He is using the correct skin though, because when you land the Shurikens on that Thunder Zed, Shockblade Zed, it does have a lightning bolt sound.
That's cool. So we do see in the top lane here, Flaxus is going to be opening up a pretty big farm advantage for himself. You know, thankfully for Chris, the lane is going to be pushing towards him. He's going to want to try to hold this, but we have Nova already making their move to top lane. They know that this is what he's going to try to do. They don't want to let him do it. They want to push the wave in, reset it. Do not allow Chris to kind of have this free lane where he gets to sit there and catch up on farm without any threat.
There it is, landing the double shurikens in the mid lane, but Chris is going to be able to catch this wave now. He's got some assistance from Diamond Prox, who will be sharing experience as well. So still no level 6 from Chris, though he is very close. And should finally be able to get it off of one more minion. Oh, not quite.
Yeah.
As Conquan showed up and shared experience as well. And Roar, again, he's all alone in that lane. The minions, oh, and he even gets mana back. Nova are just putting in the perfect situation for Roar to keep split pushing.
Yeah, Roar has just basically been farming it up in the side wave, and because of the minion positioning, Nova felt they needed to move their bot lane up to top, help them push it in, but that does give a much bigger minion advantage to Roar. And being up, you know, 25 or so CS already at 10 minutes is like a pretty gross lead for AD carries.
Yeah, you can see the BF sword and now a long sword picked up by Roar. He's got combat stats now.
Yeah, and he is going to be scaling pretty quickly. You know, thankfully, though, for Rikara, much of that disadvantage is negated by the fact that he has that first blood, but here they go on Chris.
Flash body slam is going to miss. He's dodging left and right. Again, no flash. Drops the fish. Bubble is going to miss, but a cask knocks him back in. Chris is trying to be fancy here, buying as much time as he can. Finally pinned against the wall, and Rikara gets gifted his second kill by Nova.
Yeah, so they do get it. Ku goes for the body slam flash, misses that, misses the Q, doesn't really matter. Chris is just too far up and does not obviously have the vision control to be up this far. They're taking advantage of this, and Chris kind of just wanders back up, gets killed, and they're able to gift it over to Ezreal because it's so controlled. There was never really any doubt. Was a nice ultimate, though, by Ku. That really did secure it. So some solid Gragas play with that, and Ezreal, 2 early kills, picks himself up a Sheen, and he is going to be working his way into kind of the standard build. Here's the replay. Out he comes, swing and a miss. There's strike 2, but thankfully he does hit the ultimate, so he does not strike out. There we go.
Yeah,
1 for 3. That counts.
33% hit rate.
Yep. Got the second Q.
Yep.
It's all good. So we are seeing Chris kind of build towards his Sheen as well, and he's going to want to pick up some CDR, and he wants to have the advantage against this Maokai, but you know, they're kind of picking on him, and it's going to be tough if you fall too far from him.
Yeah, so far we can see Chris having some trouble. Though if the game goes late enough, that difference probably won't matter. Once again, we've got the late game. We can scale. I don't know if that exactly applies to Apex with Sivir, Zed, Fizz, but we'll certainly see, as right now it is first Dragon. You just saw Cloud Drake going to Apex, but Nova ahead in 2 kills. So there still is a lot going for Apex right now with that split push Sivir, who's been building a lot of gold.
Yeah, but they do have some pretty big disadvantages elsewhere. Look at the CS in the mid lane, down over 40 CS, and that's 46 CS in the mid lane. That's really rough there. for Shifter. You know, the late game kind of solution for Apex is obviously split pushing. You have the 1-3-1. You hope that Fizz can beat the Maokai. You hope that no one can really answer the Zed. And then you have your kind of wave clear crew sitting as a squad of 3. Sivir has amazing wave clear, especially if you do, you know, build into the Shiv and so on. Elise is pretty good with that as well. So that's going to be probably the plan. Obviously, it can go different ways. You have a pretty decent team fight as well, especially, you know, Sivir allows Fizz to kind of get in there really quickly and hopefully take out one of these squishy targets. But Chris is definitely not in a position to do that just yet. He needs to get some more items, has to get somewhat stronger, and Shifter has not found any early kills, and because of that, you know, falling behind in the farm, it's going to be tough to do the straight up 5v5.
Yeah, looks like Apex have sacrificed a bit of Shifter's priority, but in answer, looks like Roar and Chris have been catching up quite a bit. Roar has been farming nonstop this entire time, but Chris is going to be caught once again. He hops the wall. He's actually up in CS and levels right now over Flaxish, so some very high priority for Apex as they're playing around who they know will become strong. And now even the blue buff being stolen and secured by Chris.
Yeah, Chris even going to be gifted that. His Shifter's up in the top lane, so no Zed to claim it. He does take it for himself.
Ooh. There was the Tempered Fate. Good flash.
But it's a good trade, and that's what we talked about before. You know, Bard is always going to be happy about that. Now you have a flashless Azir. That does give much more of a chance for someone like Chris, for someone like Shifter, to get onto a Blaze Olive and take him out. They're going to look for the assassinations, and they're going to look to hopefully exploit that weakness of not having the flash.
Yeah, now it looks like the Rift Herald is going to be secured. All right, so this is the question that I always postulate. Rift Herald, great on split pushers. Zed, great split pusher. Do you give it to the Zed? Looks like Apex thinks so. Take that, solo queue.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's better on Chris, but Chris isn't there. So it's kind of like the blue buff, right? It's the same kind of thing. They're taking over the blue buff. You'd rather give it to your mid laner, but your mid laner is not there, so give it to your top laner. Chris is in the bot lane. It's not worth moving him over across the whole map. It's not that much better. And Shifter is a great split pusher, so it's totally fine to give it over to him. That's the clear plan here for this team. And on the other side of the board, you have explosive initiation. You have fantastic team fight. Nova, a very clear team fight plan here. With the Maokai, with the Gragas, lots of ways in, flanking. You have fantastic ultimate initiation. You even have the initiation of the Nami wave. So they have good backline, they have strong front line. It's very obvious what they want to do, and it's very obvious what Apex wants to do. And the biggest key for Apex is going to be avoiding getting picked off in these side lanes that allows Nova to group and take objectives. So Chris has got to be careful. He can't afford to die in the side lanes, or Nova will simply group. They will dive your team. They will take turrets. You have to play safe.
Looks like we might see a little bit of trading as finally Nova send a Blaze Olive to match Shifter. Sort of feed some of that in this mid lane. CS says, whoa, Ku is going to find a huge cast over the wall, and they drop the AoE. They get a kill onto Roar. Conquan is dead. There goes a repel. Doesn't look like Diamond Prox is anywhere to go, though they will let him leave. With those two members dead, that mid-tier 1 is not long for the Rift.
And that was a great initiation from Ku, just out of nowhere. Pops 2 in. Trance follows up with the ult, and that was great stuff from Nova. Very explosive, and that is the power of the initiation that this team has. But at the same time, they're split pushing. Zed was in the top lane. Chris is in the bot lane. They are still trying to keep their game plan alive.
Very weak trade for Nova if they can put some pressure, but for Apex. But Nova are prepared. They're already on those tier 2 turrets, keeping them standing. Rikara is going to be able to secure that. I believe some of that gold did end up going over to Trance. It's not quite able to perfectly juggle all of that gold onto Rikara to sort of balance that out, but here's that body slam once again.
Yeah, so what an initiation there by Ku. Body slam flash, nails it this time. Great ultimate to follow it up, and no chance for Conquan or Roar to get out. Roar at least does not blow his flash. Conquan does throw down his, but he's chased down as well. Just great stuff, explosive initiation from Ku. A little bit of a miscue in the top lane earlier, but this one was on point.
Yeah. 17 minutes in, and the Mountain Drake has just spawned. Nova could definitely use this to break through some more objectives, and that's why we see them already in the pit. Now, Vision is in favor of Apex.
Trance could be in trouble here.
Oh, yeah, Roar once again separated from his team. Flash engage is not going to be enough. He goes over the wall, but right onto Flaxish, who destroys him. Chris does not have enough follow-up, and Nova are just tearing through Apex. They've now caught on to Diamond Prox. He gets gifted to Rakara. They should be able to catch Conquan here. Yeah, he's finally going to go down to another kill to Rakara. 5-0-2, 18 minutes in.
Yeah, that is great. A lot of gold getting funneled into this Ezreal, who's going to be such a key component of their team, and it's going to push him quickly towards that 2-item spike that is just so good for Ezreal. Also important because, honestly, he's been so far behind of Roar as far as CS goes this game. So the fact that he's picking up these kills is keeping him ahead of his opponent, even though he's down 45 CS.
Yeah, pretty big opening that we're seeing Apex try to play around right now, but Nova are able to respond appropriately. 44 CS now that he has secured the Dragon, though Chris and Shifter split pushing on the other side of the map will secure the top tier 2 turret. Here's that play once again.
Yeah, and it's just a good binding there, but pretty silly by Trance just kind of walking in and face checking that. Does get bound up, and he's chunked out of the fight immediately. And then Flax is just right in there on top of Roar, and it's kind of just every man for themselves here for Apex Prime, as they just have to completely scatter and are getting chased down by Nova.
Yeah, some very good work we're seeing out of them. Now at the 19-minute mark, a minute away from Dragon spawning, and Apex are down only 1,000 gold when it's all said and done.
It's not bad, but a lot of the gold is on the right places, right? You have so much gold on Rakara, hasn't even popped his call, so he's going to get another nice chunk of gold, and he's going to be like 1,500 plus up on Roar, despite the CS disadvantage. But they do have to be careful about what they're bleeding out, because getting kills is great, but you need the objectives to follow up. And Shifter looks like he may want to go in, but they're going great onto Rakara.
Oh yeah, 2 assassins dive. One of them gets the kill. That's going to be a dead Rakara. Trance follows shortly thereafter, and that's going to be a Blazed Olive. Dodging the skill shot, separating the team, flashing the wall with the barrier. Can he keep it up? Zhonya's buys some more time, but he's finally going to drop. Shifter gets revenge for landing phase. Quick 3 kills for Apex.
And that is so big for Shifter. 2 quick kills for him. He gets a big shutdown on Ezreal as well. And they are looking to get some objectives. They want to push for the mid lane turret, but Ku and Flaxish are there to defend. And this is really what you have to do. You have to look for the fast collapses, the kills, the pickoffs, get the disadvantageous team fights for Nova. If you let them establish their battle lines, if you let them get into position and choose their fights, it's going to be really hard. But they have these assassins. They catch someone out of position and they pounce.
And with that, that's the first 3 kills for Apex in this series. Here it is once again. It's actually a teleport play from Chris.
Yeah, so Chris comes in. He goes straight for the Ezreal on top of him. And even though we saw Ku even try to ult Shifter away, he's able to immune that with the death mark, gets right over onto the Ezreal, pops down 1. Blazed Olive does his best to try to stay alive here, but he's going to get knocked down too. And during the replay, Nova is actually on the Baron, but they get spotted out, and they're going to try to get out of there. We'll see if they can do it.
Yeah, looks like they're backing away as Apex collapse on the pit to try to deny Vision. True Shot Barrage is going to find some damage as well, as it looks like Apex are going to take this mid-tier 1 turret.
Yeah, I think that True Shot Barrage was actually just meant to try to clear away minions in the mid lane, but it's going to go down regardless. A huge wave is in the bot lane for Apex, and, you know, one of the problems with their Baron attempt there is they do not have side lane control. They do not have minion control, and it's like, well, where could the team be if they're not getting the big waves of minions that are in the side? Well, they could be a Baron, so let's check it. And it's one of the things that you kind of like, they skip step 1, they skip step 2, they went straight to step 3 and try to just kind of hope that the other team is sleeping a little bit. But Apex is on top of it. Do not let them take that away.
Yeah, so Apex still playing smart, despite a little bit of difficulty in this. They have got a couple of kills and are well aware of their winning composition. In fact, they now have a 2,000 gold lead after those few kills and the shutdown onto Rakara. So when it's all said and done, it's still very even between the 2 teams. But Apex, we saw in game number 1, took an early advantage, and before Nova turned it around with some team fights, well, might see something a little similar this time around too.
Has been the biggest difference between the teams that are having success tonight and the teams that are not. is who can actually capitalize after they get kills, right?
Yeah.
You need to take objectives. You need to, compound that gold lead. The kills alone are not enough, especially when you're bleeding farm, especially when, like look at the CS lead. Ezreal is 5-1-2. He is down 80 CS. What is happening there? You have to have people picking up the waves. When you give away side lanes, when you do not allocate your farm properly, even though you get the kills, you can lose the fights.
Ooh, Diamond Prox is about to be engaged upon. The cast is going to find Roar. He's knocked in, but kept alive by great tempered fate, keeping Ezreal out of there. Roar is guiding the True Shot Barrage. Oh, and he makes it out of the way in time. And Apex might try to turn this around. No, they decide to let Nova go, who pulled the trigger but can't execute the kill.
Because they don't have to fight. It's a 3-man squad. All they had to do was live. That was their job. They did it. Chris is on the turret. We had Shifter pushing all the way to the inhib turret, and there's going to be a lot of damage put down, but Diamond Prox, ooh, he gets caught by the slow. Could be in trouble.
Oh, he's made it to the Raptor camp. All right, he makes it over in time. But Chris, as you mentioned, splitting on the far side, takes a tier 2 turret. That's going to further open up the gold lead for Apex.
Yeah, so that's the thing. You need to have a really strong initiation and instantly kill someone if you're Nova. You have to have the Gragas ult in the carry, the Maokai get on him, and then pop. Has to be like that. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle to actually get the best of these trades, because even had they got that kill on Sivir, it's not worth it for the inner tier 2 turret. So they have to always be aware there's a clock on these fights. If you're pushing out, you're fighting, and you're just giving up turrets, then it has to be something major that you're getting back from.
Yeah, a bit of a push and pull, and right now Apex are slowly pulling back more in their favor after Nova secured a bit of an early lead despite some difficulty in the laning phase. Now, Dragon's about to spawn in about 10 seconds. We'll see what that is when it pops up, but currently Apex look like they've got control on that side of the map. They might be trying to prioritize it.
Yeah, it's going to be a water dragon, so one that is definitely pretty nice, especially when you do kind of sit a lot in those side lanes, if you're going to be spending a lot of mana. Someone like Fizz, who wants to, you can use the E more liberally for wave clear. But Nova doesn't want to give this up, and Ku kind of getting caught, though. He's going to be in some trouble.
Down to half. Oh, Diamond Prox is forced to repel. He tries to get sneaky, but hops over the wall. He's pursued by Flaxish, and in fact, Roar is going to be pulled in by a Blaze Olive. Shifter gets one. As he dives in the back with Chris, the two members are trying to shred through this back line, but they don't have enough cooldowns. They're going to be able to get one onto Trent, but Shifter will fall before being chased down by Chris once again, who will not leave without a fight. Finally, it's going to be 4 kills. Oh, man. Conquan escapes with his life. 4 kills for 2.
Very close to being 5, and Ku gets kind of initiated onto, but turns it around. Great ult. Nice follow-up by Blaze Olive, and really good team fighting there from Nova, who shows off the strength of their comp. So, taking out Roar early was so key, as you're going to see in this fight. Ku kind of wanders down in. He's going to get initiated onto, but great ult here, splits up the fight. Diamond Prox is immediately kind of out of there now, and look at this. What a stream of shuffle. Beautiful stuff by a Blaze Olive. That was as good as it gets for Azir initiations. Takes out the Sivir. That wins the team fight hands down. So really well played by a Blaze Olive. And on the back end, they are going to be trading, some kills back and forth here, but the major victory was already had. They're going to get the dragon as well. So good stuff from Nova.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we were talking about in the pregame. That Azir has so much potential to make plays, and with someone who knows positioning so well, can really do some amazing stuff. So things looking very good for a Blazed Olive. Ahead about 50 CS over Shifter right now, and definitely doing his job in team fights. He will have his work cut out for him, though, as we're starting to get later into this game, and Apex are starting to hit some pretty scary item spikes.
Both teams very strong. Gold is pretty close here. I do worry, who is going to answer Shifter as long as the 3-man squad can stay alive, because Shifter has built very heavily to 1v1, guys like the Maokai. Who answers him? This is a Black Cleaver, a Maw, this is the kind of items that you would want to actually 1v1 against this Maokai. It's great, and he's going to be building towards the Ghostblade. We do have Zhonya's already on a Blaze Olive, and Rikara obviously cannot QSS Deathmark anymore. That's something that was changed a couple patches ago. So there's going to be some good targets for him, and there's going to be a lot of split push potential.
Yeah, True Shot Barrage goes wide. Looks like On the Hunt is used as they want to pick off Trance, and they will succeed. Chris is going to secure this kill. Tempered Fate is in fact used as they now collapse onto Blackfish, but he's a tank. That's exactly where he wants to be. A Cask separates the fight. Shifter is brought into the back line with his death mark, but hops right back out. And now that a Blazed Olive is there, it looks like Apex have got to let it go.
Yeah, Shifter does still have his death mark, so they could look for that turn. I don't think they want to. Happy to take that 1-for-0 kill trade, and definitely a worthwhile one as Flax has also dumped both his summoners, so not going to have as many initiation options. Shifter picks up that blue buff, going to go straight back to top, keep farming it up, keep getting that experience, and trying his best to kind of just open up this map for someone to come and answer him.
Yeah, and to talk about the Shifter a little bit more, you know, the fact that he's on Apex, to me, makes me think he's going to go for the Bruiser Zed that we saw Keen use in the NACS last spring split, where it was the Maul of Malmortius, Black Cleaver, Death's Dance, and then, if not the Maul of Malmortius, the Sterix. So obviously that doesn't quite work out as well anymore now that you can't double tap on the Life Grip passive. So
the Serrated Dirk as well, you know, says he's probably going towards that Ghost Blade, so is going to be going probably for a more standard build, but it would be possible. Obviously, you know, Ma is a fantastic pickup regardless. There's a lot of AP damage coming out from this team, so I agree. Ma is a great buy here, and we'll have to see how he does want to finish out that item build. My guess is it's going to be, you know, the Ghost Blade probably into a Last Whisper item, especially because he's likely going to be matched up against guys like Maokai, like Gragas in the side lanes who are trying to hold him.
Yeah, Shifter doing some work. We'll see how he decides to play it out. 50 CS down right now as Chris is continuing to farm in his own lane. About 25, make that 30 CS now, as he continues to keep pressure up in this side lane. 29 minutes in, it's about a 2,000 gold lead for Apex, as Nova are up in kills and Dragons, but Apex are hot on their heels.
The Dragons definitely going to be pretty nice here for Nova, but the big story has just been the farm. Look at Roar, 315 CS, 220 of the Ezreal. Chris has opened up a nice little gap for himself as well. He's going to be pretty strong now in this split push. You know, still has that ignite, pretty nice for the 1v1, reduced healing from Maokai. Shifter is going to be a split pushing monster, and Roar has just been soaking farm and clearing waves, and that's what he needs to do. So they just need to keep sticking with this plan, keep trying to pull Nova apart and look for those assassinations as they can get them. And Nova on the other side needs to hold strong. They need to be careful, get vision, watch out for these assassinations. Do not let Chris or Shifter have an easy way in. And then when they find their chance, they have to be explosive. They have to kill someone off very quickly.
Yeah, we'll look for Nova to do that. So far, Apex has been successful 1 or 2 times in that split, aggressively assassinating the vulnerable back members.
Oh, there's the TP. They want to go to top lane.
Snared. This is now a 1v1 in the bottom while the rest of the teams are fighting. Ku is collapsed on. Cask is going to hit Roar, but he spell shields it perfectly. Meanwhile, that tier 2 already cleared means Chris can go hard onto Flaxish right now. Difficult trade, though, and it looks like he decides to let that Maokai off with a warning.
Definitely does, but Apex was looking to move into the Baron pit, clearing out vision once again there, always having the threat of the Baron available. You know, Shifter and Chris wanted to initiate in the top lane, but when Chris's TP got canceled out, Shifter had to get out of there, blew his flash to do so, and now Chris looking to steal up this blue, which is always fantastic for the Fizz, who's definitely very, very mana hungry, especially as the tank build. You don't get to build Morellos, you don't get to build the regen, and you need that mana even more as a result.
Oh, True Shot Barrage, not going to secure it. Chris happy to have a full bar of mana now on this recall. Doesn't have his teleport, as we saw, that was denied. Now it looks like an Ocean Drake is going to be in the cards for Apex. Diamond Prox is going to start that out with some help from Roar. Once again, balancing it out with Nova, but on the other side of the map, Nova are heading towards the Baron pit. They are, in fact, going to start it and could be looking.
Yeah, Chris has no TP, so they're going to make the call to go for it, but a nice delay here from Bard, and now Roar has pushed up mid. They're going to be moving over. This is very risky for Nova. They're going to get collapsed on. Here they come.
Yeah, the stun is going to land. Shifter dives in. He's knocked right back out, and it's not going to be secured by Diamond Prox. He gets back up with a quick GA, but now it's Chaos in the pit. It looks like Apex are trying to secure a few kills as some sort of recourse to this, but they're just not able to. The tank of Ku Wazoo and Flaxish are doing some serious work, but Chris answers back with damage of his own. Rikara and the Blazed Olive cannot find a way in. There's going to be the flash engage. Rikara gets a kill. Exhaust tries to slow him down, and there goes the Blazed Olive. Doesn't catch up, but he gets in range for the attack. Roar is going to drop. It's going to be 3 for 2 favoring Nova.
And the Baron, which is the big win here for Nova, as Ku was able to secure it. Great job by him, staying focused, does not let Diamond Proc steal it away. Nova pulls off a little bit of a surprise move there, as Apex was just not in position to deal with this. Chris had already blown his TP. A very decisive call. Great stuff from Nova. They see the Fizz is still bot lane. He has the base, no TP available. They rush it, even with the delay from Conquan, not enough.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge play for Nova.
Yeah.
Here it is once again, just very decisive match.
Yeah, great call. They're going to move in, and it looks pretty dangerous here as the Baron is getting low. The fight has already started, but the secure is pulled off by Gragas, and now it's kind of chaos breaking out here as Shifter is having trouble staying involved in the fight. He kind of has to back off, and this is an Azir that is constantly in the side. Look at his position. He's over the Baron wall, getting damage out where he can, and compare him to the contributions from Shifter for the rest of this fight. Not to say that Shifter has played it poorly, just that his champion is very difficult to get involved in the fight when you don't have Deathmark, when you don't have Flash. Azir continues to contribute, continues to put out that team fight power, and Zed does not.
Yeah, Apex having a lot of trouble right now keeping pace with a Blazed Olive's Azir. Huge binding is going to lock down 2. But the minion wave, they clear it once and immediately another one follows. Nova looking for an inhibitor turret right now. Rikara 10, 1, and 4. Going to shred through it if he gets the opportunity. Luckily, Roar, who's been funneled all of this gold throughout the game, has wave clear out the Wazoo. So these minions are getting shredded despite the Baron buff.
Yeah, 10, 1, and 4, as you said, on Ezreal, compared to the 1, 4, and 6 on Roar. The funny thing is, though, gold is pretty comparable. I mean, he's down 1,000 gold now, partly because of the global objectives, the Baron and stuff. And they're going to be pushing in here, looking for this, and it doesn't seem like Apex can actually contest. And this is the weakness: is if they can group and they can push, if you don't have the side waves pushed out, you can't fight. You can't have the straight up 5v5 team fight. Shifter cannot find a way in. They need to be in the side lanes pushing, and they're just going to have to give this up.
Yeah, they do have a wave split pushing on the top side of the map. Yeah. Chris has his teleport, and there was just a ping up there. But Nova aren't done just yet. They brute force down the mid lane to take the mid inhib. And now could be looking for more neutral objectives across the map as they look to escort a wave now down towards that bottom tier 2 turret.
It's kind of the case of when you have a team fighting team that gets ahead, or when they get to the wave control, when they group with Baron, you have to then answer them, and that's when split pushing team comps really can fall apart. It's like, great, your Zed's in the side lane, he's always keeping the wave shoved, he's a fantastic 1v1 champion, but now there's 5 champions with Baron buff at your door. How do you get in there? If he just death marks on the Ezreal, he gets rooted up by Maokai, right? Yeah. So it's very tough to actually contribute a lot to these team fights as Zed, and that's one of the reasons that people do sometimes shy away from it. But Apex is certainly not out of this game just yet. They need to get back to the plan, though. Chris needs to be in a side lane. We need to have Shifter in a side lane as well. Get the split push going. Keep wave control. Let your 3-man squad clear. If you don't do that, you cannot win the game, because they will not win a straight-up 5v5 against Nova's comp unless Nova really drops the ball. Like, I'm talking some serious misplay, because this 5v5 squad is just a lot stronger.
Currently performing very well. Rikara being spoon-fed kills by his team. A Blazed Olive, monstrous positioning both in this game and the previous from what we saw. Now Elder Dragon is going to spawn in 1 minute and 10 seconds. This is a very big objective for Nova. This could effectively close out the game if they could secure it. And for Apex on the other side, they have 2 dragons on their own. They could use this to get back in. This is the huge catalyst.
Elder is absolutely massive, as you said. If you can take it, that could be a huge advantage. But Shifter is going for the assassination on the side here.
Yeah, Rikara might be caught, but it's shields on heals. They can't burst through it. Chris teleports in as well. He's forced to back out. There's a tempered fate. The winner of this fight will surely take the Elder, and it looks like Nova, they've got their tanks in the front. Rikara and a Blazed Olive are just fine. Conquan is running for his life, and a Blazed Olive, another huge Azir Shurima shuffle. He gets another 2 kills, and forget the Elder Dragon. Nova looks set to win the game right now with 4 kills of their own. They're going to continue chasing forward. That's an ace as they secure this kill here.
Mid lane is open, and this is going to be the game. They're going to push in the minion waves. They already have the supers, and Nova is looking primed to shut out Apex here. They're going to take it 2-0.
Yeah, shoving now onto the Nexus turrets. Looks like about 20 seconds before anyone else is going to be up 10 for Conquan, but no Tempered Fate and 1 single stun is not going to do much to stop Nova, who drop the Nexus and take the series versus Apex 2-0.
Yeah, fantastic stuff there. They had the game plan going into it, draft a very strong team fight comp. We saw Apex, what they wanted to do. They wanted to open up the map. They wanted to split push, and it was working for quite some time. They actually got ahead in gold, but as soon as they grabbed the Baron, they group as 5, and Apex looked like they didn't know what to do. They were kind of hovering around. They stopped split pushing. They're like, ooh, do we want to fight this? But then they don't even contest. They don't have side lane control. One more fight around Elder spells the end of the game. So well-executed comp there from Nova. The split push team is a lot harder to pull off, and this time it just did not work out.
Yeah, Apex were able to stall out the game for quite a bit, but they just didn't quite find what they were looking for. Nova, they got caught a few times with the Ezreal and the Nami, but it just wasn't enough for Apex to get themselves back into the game. Despite that, though, it was competitive in gold throughout basically the duration of the game.
The game was very competitive, not just in gold, but I think both teams had a great chance to win. They had very different win conditions, but both teams were playing very well towards them, I felt, up until that Baron. That was the one time where it kind of all fell apart. And a lot of it really came down to Shifter. He was going for that top lane play with Chris. Chris gets his TP interrupted. That means that Maokai has TP advantage. And now there's no TP on your Fizz. He stays out on the map too long. They did not respect the threat of the Baron. They were not in position. And when you don't have TP, you have to respect that. You have to move your Fizz from the bot lane to the top lane so he's near the Baron if they decide to go for it. They did not do that in time. They give up the Baron. They give up the game.
Yeah, huge sacrifice. Now, we actually do have a replay of that game-ending team fight, and this was huge.
Yeah, Azir's going big, and this is the team fight prowess of the Azir. Look at his positioning, always auto-attacking in the backline. No threat on this guy. You just have your big wall of tanks running forward, and he's going to even go deep, knock him back in, secure a couple more kills for his team, and this is the power of the Azir. You compare that champion to Zed in a straight-up 5v5. Zed cannot really do much. Shifter started the fight off pretty well. He looked for the assassination onto the Ezreal, but they have Locket. They have Nami healing. They have a lot of players and a lot of pieces in place to defend this guy. So Shifter was not able to pull it off, unsurprisingly, in this case. And as a result, now you're a Zed with no ult, and the Azir is just ramming damage down on you, and you have nothing. You have no answer.
That's something that feels so bad when you're playing Zed, and it's like, my one job is to assassinate someone. Well, I can't. They have shields and heals, and he even got his full combo onto Ezreal, who by the end of it was still at 3/4 health.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? It's one of those situations where it's not a fair fight. It's a Zed versus the Ezreal and the Nami and the Maokai's coming in, right? It's the whole crew. So it's definitely tough, and the barrier of execution for Zed is very high. Shifter actually played a pretty good game. He picked up a lot of kills for himself, was 3-1-3, I think, before that last team fight. He did a good job, but it's just you need to keep the map split. You need to look for the 1v1s. We did not see a lot of 1v1 kills from Chris, from Shifter. And that's the kind of stuff you need to open up the map, keep a split push going, and create victories.
Yeah, so Apex Pride not quite able to pull together. We still did see some impressive play from them throughout the course of the match. That last team fight did look pretty good as well. So unfortunately, they weren't quite able to pull it together. What can we expect them to look forward to? Obviously, we're expecting them to continue playing throughout the split. What can we look for them to sort of change and perhaps look for in their next six?
I think this game is pretty cut and dry. They went for a team that was a 1-3-1 team. It's strong with that composition. If you're not able to pull off, your kind of win condition, it's going to fall flat. It's a split push team versus a 5v5 team, and they know the strengths and weaknesses of this comp. This is not a game that they're going to come out and be like, "Ooh, what happened?"
Yeah.
So they definitely know what went wrong as far as that goes. Giving up the Baron was definitely key. They did not get the side lane advantages as much as they wanted. Chris gave up some early kills, which slowed down his progression, did not put him enough ahead of the Maokai. Not taking Flash certainly did not pay off, as he wasn't really able to get much done at all with the Ignite. So, there's multiple options. You either draft for team fight comps and you just look for the straight up 5v5. That's kind of the easier setup to run, or you continue to do the split push, but you try to clean it up a little bit, try to make sure that you're in position in case they do go for the Baron and stuff. Because had that not happened, I do feel that they probably could have had a good chance to split push out the game.
Yeah, continue to put pressure on those side lanes. Didn't quite get to see it this time around. So let's actually talk a little bit about how the course of the day went. Game number one, match number one between TLA and Cloud9 was actually rather surprising. Game number one really was Cloud9's game.
It was pretty much what people were thinking was going to happen when you came into it. Like, oh, Cloud9, that's, a top LCS team. They're going to smash them. And in game one, they did. Yeah. But TLA says not so fast. They come back game two. They looked a lot better. Fabi was even saying it was very demoralizing to lose the way that they did in game one because they got smashed. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it speaks to the strength of a team to be able to come back and say, hey, yeah, we got crushed game one. But that doesn't matter. This is a new game. We have to play with confidence. We have to play to our strengths. They did that. They drafted a strong team fight comp. Fabi got ahead early off of some nice 2v2 outplays, and they just executed. And this is really what you have to look for from these teams. The biggest thing to take away from today for me is the teams that really succeeded were the teams that capitalized not only on picking up kills, on winning team fights, but it's the teams that got objectives. They extended the lead. They, got more than just the bare minimum from these kills. And you have to put yourself in a position to do that. That means prepping minion waves. That means, like having your team collapse faster. So there's a lot to be said for how TLA came back in game two.
Yeah, and that's also somewhat similar to what we saw from Dream Team in our second match of the day, where in game number two, they would not only take kills, but they controlled side objectives. They controlled dragons, they controlled turrets, they controlled the Rift Herald, and it really seemed like there wasn't that much that Enix could do to get themselves back in.
Yeah, Enix, to me, looked a bit out of sorts, I have to say. They got pretty heavily manhandled, I think, by Dream Team. Dream Team, really was firing on all cylinders. They were doing pretty much everything that you would want to see from a challenger team. They were getting the kills, but not only were they getting the kills, but they were always in the right place at the right time, pushing for the objectives, had fantastic vision control. I think that they looked fantastic, and I think that this is something that they can build upon because they looked like they could compete with some of the other best teams in the league.
Yeah, well, that's just about going to do it for us here tonight. But there is more competitive league action set to hit your browser when the European LCS kicks off their Week 2 coverage starting tomorrow. That's going to start off with H2K versus the Giants on EU LCS 1. Or if you're in the mood for Vitality versus Origin, head on over to EU LCS 2. On Friday night, prepare yourself for the North American LCS when Energy will take on the Mortals in their hunt for a series win. After that, Apex and Team Envy will each look to keep their series wins going when they face off in the battle arena. Now, for myself, Azael, Optimus Tom, our broadcast production minions, I think we can upgrade them to
they're super minions. They did great.
Yes, they did a fantastic job. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.